My migraines threatened to split my skull every other day. Usual dizziness, slight nausea, sometimes even tunnel vision. I knew by then that late nights by my computer and phone were coming to an end, and I was only more bitter towards myself when I remembered I was low on funds. All I could afford was to have my lens changed, so I wasn't looking to have a new frame altogether. The optical shop I saw was a few blocks off the main road, tucked between a shut-down bakery and a peeling laundromat. The sign was now a mere flicker, and the once bright white of the exterior now peeled to this sickly yellow. Dust coated the display cases, making the frames inside hard to see. It felt like no one had stepped in for weeks. The owner, Robert, his name tag said, was the only one there. He handled the register, answered the phone, and now gestured for me to take a seat at the machine. He looked rather exhausted, but not unkind. His shirt was wrinkled and his eyes were outlined with the dull red of long nights. "This won't take long," Robert said, his voice quiet and calm. "You're just here for new lenses, right?" I nodded. "Same frame, just need a stronger grade." "All right, let's check the numbers again then." He adjusted the auto-refractor with a sluggish sort of grace, dragging it forward until it aligned with my face. He gave the chin rest a half-hearted wipe with a cloth that smelled faintly of mold. I settled my head in, starting with the right eye. A small image flickered into view inside the machine. It was the image of a small house in the midst of a green field. At least, I knew that's what it was supposed to be, but the picture was a blur, the colors melting into each other. "It's pretty blurry," I murmured. A few quiet clicks. The machine adjusted, the field sharpened. The roof of the house came into definition. The sky softened into a peaceful blue. Still not great. "Any better now?" "Some," I admitted, "but it's still off." Another clack. This time the image bloomed into perfect clarity. The house was now looking more like a house instead of a watered-down blot. The grassy landscape had its definition back, and the big blue sky had a more serene gradient to it. I was satisfied for the most part, but something tugged at me. That feeling where something was wrong. That's when I noticed. I noticed a sliver of black against the wall of the house. Was it some sort of dead pixel that I didn't notice the first few times? Perhaps some sort of gardening tool or a poorly placed window? But the more I peered at it, I felt a pit in my stomach as I continued analyzing it. It began to look more like a figure, staring back at me. "All right, your right eye's good," Robert said, flipping the screen to black. "Your grades ticked up to -3.00, and the astigmatisms, well, it's not so great." Words failed me as I blinked hard and leaned back onto the chair. The ghost of that figure still burned into my retina. "Left eye now," he said, already repositioning the machine. I hesitated, then leaned forward again, chin resting in place. The next image flickered on. A bright hot air balloon centered perfectly above a long, empty road that stretched into a flat expanse of open field. I froze. The figure was already there. It stood under the balloon's basket, with the image still being consumed in a blur. As for the figure, it was crystal clear, completely crisp. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice calm. It's pretty clear." "You're sure?" Robert asked in doubtful surprise before clicking again on the machine. Soon enough, the image sharpened even more. The balloon's red and yellow gleefully stood out, and the road was no longer a stream of gray. It was still there, but it hadn't budged. Maybe this time it was part of the picture? It was probably a digital watermark that was overlooked. I thought, yeah, maybe that was it. I could hear another click, another adjustment. Then it twitched. It didn't turn. It didn't sway. It was too fast, like someone skipping a few frames of footage. I held my breath and clasped my hands tightly together. My eyes were probably getting dry, as well as the lack of sleep catching up, so I didn't dare pull away. Then, a third adjustment. The image was now clear as day. But then, the figure started running straight toward me. Its head and arms were flailing aimlessly and violently, as if it had no control over its own body, with its legs being the only driving force. It stumbled, but it persisted and charged closer and closer. I gasped, forcefully pulling back just before it got too close. The chair scraped under me as I tumbled out of it, a yelp escaping my throat. "Hey, are you okay?" Robert shot up, startled, his fatigue replaced with pure alarm. I didn't respond. I didn't look at him or at the machine. I snatched up my glasses and ran, barely remembering the door, barely able to shove it open fast enough. The sunlight outside felt raw, blinding. I couldn't look back. I didn't want to imagine it following after me. I didn't stop running until I reached the street corner, lungs heaving, and hurried back home.